All right. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of The Tyranny of Dragons. Yes, this is the first officially published adventure from Wizards of the Coast. My chair's being really weird tonight, guys. So, you may see me moving around a lot. And I totally just lost train of thought. Cool. Anyway, to kind of bring everyone up to speed, these guys have been kind of hunting this group called the Cult of the Dragon, trying to figure out why they are ransacking local villages, taking everything of value, and then leaving with it somewhere. They met up with the cult in Baldur's Gate after adventuring a little bit in a town called Greenest and then going to El Terrell. So now they are they went from Baldur's Gate to Waterdeep, got into a little bit of trouble with, some minor murder charges, and everybody learned a valuable lesson. And now they're in Waterdeep. Last week they visited Valdis's manor house, or his family's manor house, so Valdis could learn about a cool item he got, and Altier learned the wonders of checking for traps. And Lillian got a copy of Watchtower. So, so now they know that the earliest that the cult could leave northward from the city is going to be tomorrow morning. So right now it's getting early evening, and they're kind of trying to figure out what they are going to do. And I'm going to very quickly check to see. I'm going to very quickly refresh my Roll20 window to see if I can get Anna to come back. So hold, please. This is Roll20. It's lovely.
By the way, Anna.
Now I have less people than I had before. Wow. That's impressive.
No.
There, I've got Anna now. That's cool. I'm still missing Lillian, Valdis, and Ollie.
Sorry, did I start a chain reaction?
Roll20, you are wonderful for bringing people together and, letting people play D&D, sometimes from around the world. But dear God, fix your video chat system, please. All right. I think I've got everybody. Valdis, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, and I can hear you. Ollie, can you hear me? You guys don't need a cleric, do you?
Hey, I got Anna back.
I mean, Valdis has a level in cleric. That's enough for healing, right?
I do have cure wounds. And you all laughed.
I can punch people.
Yeah, you can punch people. Like, hey, Ollie, can you hear us?
Give me a second.
Guys, this is the most fun part about D&D, making sure your video chat works.
Can you hear us, Ollie?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool. All right, so everyone's up to speed and everything like that. Again, Ollie, I believe you just decided to rest in one of the guest rooms, right?
Yeah, I'll mostly just stay the night praying. I'm trying to figure out what this whole do with this mark.
Oh, yeah. You're trying to pray. You're trying to pray the mark away.
No, just trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll deal with that in a second. Liliane, I believe you're heading back to the Temple of Kelemvor to learn more about Kelemvor, right?
I went there with me that
Okay. All right. The rest of you guys, what would you like to do?
We were on our way to that tavern. Who was it we were meeting or trying to meet?
The guy from the Harpers that we've found in the hole on the
Oh
way
yeah,
to.
the guy that was buried in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're heading to the tavern. He said he went to a lot in Waterdeep.
Okay.
I believe Lillian was meeting up with us, like we were going the way that she was coming back from and ran into us.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Oh, and never mind. I found the website says, "Welcome to the Waterdeep Restaurant and Tavern Guide." They have I was just trying to see if there was, because they have tons and tons of taverns, and I don't want to send you guys to the Cock and Balls again, which is my favorite tavern ever to send new adventurers to.
Is that a Chippendales club?
No, it's a tavern where the sign outside has a rooster and two cannonballs. As soon as you come in, some wonderful barmaid will sit there. Hello, welcome to the Cock and Balls. What can I do for you?
Oh no.
Ability. I have an entire thing of. We're just gonna make it up.
Okay.
All right. So while you guys are in Waterdeep, I may actually have something. I have an entire book here. Maybe I should look in the book. Even though they never give you a whole lot. Sorry, really quickly just scanning through everything so I know exactly what's going on. All right, so you guys head off to this kind of out of the way inn in the dock ward. And as you go in, you are immediately just almost overwhelmed with the smell of bad tobacco smoke and sweat and grime. You can hear people talking, because again it's early evening. It's not massively packed, but it's right at that point where it's starting to get busy. And so there are people at most of the tables aren't full, but have at least somebody sitting at them. You can see there's two barmaids working the bar, and then you can see a couple women walking around handing out drinks, handing out food. The tavern itself seems to be a little bit more than just a watering hole. Like, it looks like they've got a kitchen in the back. It looks like they've got rooms if you need them. But the whole thing, like, you would not expect, especially you, Valdis, this is not a place that you or anyone you would know would ever frequent.
Smells like home to me.
The second we walk in, I want to use prestidigitation to alter the smell around my nose so it's tolerable.
So as soon as you guys get in, you see Valdis just make this incredible grimace, and then just start doing this with his finger, just in the air. And you guys actually watch as just kind of the air around his nose specifically becomes much clearer. And it's a really weird thing to see because as he walks through the room, anytime smoke gets in the way, like it just kind of parts around him. It's really weird. Valdis just keeps doing that.
Every hour on the hour.
In order to keep such a very specific thing going, I'm basically going to act as if that is a concentration spell for you for the
That's
time
fine.
being. So you are concentrating on prestidigitation. Those of you that are really, really close to him get this faint smell of lilac, or whatever Valdis finds pleasant. I don't know. Are you a lilac guy?
Sure, recent nature binge.
I happen to enjoy lavender. The rest of you guys, what would you like to do?
I'm just gonna check around, see if I can find our buddy here.
All right, make me a perception check.
That would be a. Let me pull because I refreshed, so I lost my thing.
Natural one. I'm just waiting.
Oh, I wish, but that will be a 14.
So scanning around. This is not. This is. I cannot. Oh, there we go. All right. So scanning around, you see a lot of different people here. Some, especially from your experience with the more, let's say, sensitive legal issues you've dealt with. You can tell there are certain groups that are in this place specifically because people don't generally tend to look very closely, and some people are doing their very best to not really be noticeable. There are other people that are here just to have a good time. But looking around, you guys don't see your contact specifically as soon as you walk in. There's a very good chance, again, you know that he frequents here. There's a very good chance that if you guys wait around for a little bit, you may see him when he comes in, but as of right now, you have not seen him.
You guys want to take a rest for a bit? Eat, drink a bit?
About what
Well,
time?
I certainly think we must patronize them. Perhaps a drink, some type of beverage.
About what time of the day is it right now?
Again, early evening. It's not quite sunset, but it's getting to that point where the sky is getting that weird kind of yellowish color.
Bit of a dinner and a drink while we wait, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
like
can stay for a while.
call it pre-dusk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we find a table where we can all sit and we have something to eat and drink.
Well, you guys will.
Forgetting, I actually have music and stuff like that. Do you guys hear sound?
Yeah.
I do now.
Wonder why I don't.
Is there a
Oh, there we
setting
go.
or recording? Oh, okay, I was thinking maybe you had something muted on accident.
No, okay, so, yeah, you guys decide to go up. Anna, I'm assuming you decide to get a drink.
Yes.
All right. Do you guys go for the bar? Do you guys go for a table, a booth? Where are you guys thinking of stopping?
Is there
There's like,
a
if there's
spot
like,
in the corner where we can see most of the bar?
Yeah. There's one spot. It's a table pressed up against a wall. For the four of you, it's not going to be very difficult to all fit around the table. But anyone more, and you guys are going to become really good friends.
I think that's fine though. Don't you
No,
guys
we
think?
can see multiple entrances.
Yeah.
So you guys, the only kind of downside to this particular table is because you can kind of see everything from there. You are the furthest away from any of the exits. You're on the opposite side of the room from the actual entrance to the tavern. The kitchen is on the other wall that you guys aren't up against. There's some windows to the east of where you are, or, depending on where you're sitting, to your left. But yeah, actually, if something happens, you'll have to go through quite a few people to get out.
And ironically, 2 of our players are wearing red shirts.
Yeah, so that's...
Yeah.
I think that fits really well. I'm just saying. You guys weren't hoping to keep the same characters through this campaign, right?
As someone goes to change their shirt, I love it.
So while that is happening, there we go. While that's happening, Ollie, you've decided to refrain from
This music.
refrain from going to the tavern to try and pray and figure out exactly what this mark means. So as you're sitting in the guest room, you start to meditate and pray to... Who's your deity again?
Eldath.
Eldath. Okay, yeah, Eldath. Take out your... you take out your holy symbol and start praying. Your interactions with your deity, in general, don't tend to be... very few people are actually spoken to by the gods. You just kind of generally feel like a calling or a leading somewhere, and make your own decisions based on what their specific creed is. So when, however, being a cleric and kind of channeling the power of your deity, you have felt their presence before. You've never interacted with Eldath before, but because you are quite literally a conduit of Eldath's power, you tend to have a more personal connection than most with your deity. And as you're sitting there, I just realized I couldn't hear any of the music. I have a separate volume control for my headset. And so it was super, super low. So as you sit there and you're praying and meditating, you start to focus more and more on your holy symbol. And as you start to feel that connection that you generally feel when you're invoking Eldath's power, you kind of feel the connection, and you start kind of asking questions, more of transmitting emotions through your holy symbol, hoping for some sort of answer. Go ahead and roll me a religion check.
Religion. 22.
So as you're sitting there concentrating and just praying, you're starting to get frustrated. You're not getting an answer. You're not even getting the kind of strong leading that you felt before when Eldath has spoken to you. A lot of times, the messages you get from Eldath generally tend to be a very strong inclination to go to a certain place, or a very strong feeling of something being very right or something being very wrong. And you're getting nothing. And you start getting more and more frustrated as you concentrate on this more and more, and you finally just get upset, open your eyes and stand up, kind of throwing your arms to your side and grunting in frustration. uh, only to realize that the room that you were in is no longer there. And as you kind of look around, you are in kind of a barren area. You see no walls, you see no roofs. The ground below you is nondescript and very smooth, and seems to go on forever. It's incredibly dark, except for the one point you're standing on, which is lit by some unseen light source above you. And as you look around, you notice that there's nothing as far as you can see. You start getting a little bit worried, and remind me, Ollie, do you have the light cantrip?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you start getting a little bit worried that you're in this place where you can't really see anything beyond this little thing of light. So you actually ignite your holy symbol, and it starts glowing this bright holy light, and start kind of pointing it out, trying to see more. And the further you point it, the more you realize that you are completely, utterly alone. There's not a single being, there's no wind, there is no sound. You are completely and utterly alone, cut off from everything and everyone you know. And as you look at your holy symbol, the holy symbol itself seems changed somehow. And you're not really sure what it means at first. And then as you look at it more and more, the holy symbol itself starts to, while still emitting the light that you cast, the holy symbol itself goes from, what is your holy symbol made out of?
Wood.
So it goes from this kind of polished wood symbol that you've known as long as you've held it, to it starts to look like it's aging and growing gray and darker and darker. And the light still shines from it. The light starts to take on this eerie glow, almost like the light itself is disconnected from your holy symbol. And then as you start looking at it, you start realizing that the holy symbol is not glowing anymore. But on your forearm, the light is still there. You start realizing that it is radiating from the mark that is on your forearm. And the light itself is taking kind of a sinister turn. While it used to be this very bright white light that illuminated pretty well and had almost this purity to it, now it is started slowly changing from a white to kind of a light blue, and then into an indigo, and then into a dark purple, and then it keeps changing again. It turns into a dark, deep red light emanating from this mark on your arm. What would you like to do?
I take off my holy symbol
Mm-hmm.
and drop to my knees,
Mm-hmm.
and I plea for some form of guidance as to what actions I need to take to rectify this.
So as you do that, you start pleading from the very center of your being, just kind of crying out in desperation for guidance, for something. You see off in the distance. Hold, please. That's what I want. You see off in the distance another source of light, probably close to 100 feet away. Again, you can't tell where the light source is coming from, but you can see grass being illuminated and a few plants and things like that. You start to hear the sound of trickling water from far away, and you see a woman standing there. The woman herself, even though it's only about 100 feet away, you're having a really hard time making out features. You can see her hair is a green color, and she also wears green clothing. Her skin is the purest white you've ever seen, but you can't make out her face at all, almost like she's wearing some sort of a mask to hide her features. What would you like to do?
I stand up. It's still holding on to the symbol. I don't put it on.
Mm-hmm.
I begin to walk, not so much in a way of hope and like anxiety, but more in a way of guilt and apologetic for allowing this to happen.
Okay. So you start walking in that direction, and you have your head bowed, and as you're walking, you get about 10 feet. Not a whole lot changes. You're kind of looking out of the top of your eyes, and just kind of keep taking quick glances up every so often, because you're trying to be in a very humble state. And so you get 10 feet, and not a whole lot has changed. You can see the woman in the grove has now kind of turned and looked towards you. You get another 10 feet, and again, you try and take quick glances to see if you recognize a face or something like that, and the face itself you just can't make out. And normally from this distance, I mean, you're 80 feet away. Normally from this distance, you'd start to be able to pick out different things, especially being brightly lit. And there's nothing. There's nothing on the face. There's no nose. There's no eyes. You just can't make any detail out. And so you move another 10 feet closer, and your arm starts to itch a little bit.
Can I do some sort of check to make sure I reckon like I'm doing something right here, or like everything seems to be correct? If I'm not seeing her face.
To be blunt, you have gone from sitting in a room in the middle of the city of Splendor to a place where there are no features. There's nothing but this other person. Something weird is happening that has never happened to you before. You have nothing to really base on whether it's good or bad. You do know, again, Eldath is known as the Green Goddess, or the Mother Guardian of Groves. Mm-hmm. You see a woman clad in green in a field where there is no plant, there's nothing alive other than underneath this light. That's all you can really tell right now. So what would you like to do? You've moved 30 feet basically, and your arm has started to itch a little bit.
I continue walking, ignoring the pain or the itch.
Okay. Again, your movement is slower than you normally would with the kind of painstaking effort you're making to humble yourself before this woman. As you get closer, you keep making these glances up, and you start realizing that the woman standing in front of you, what you assume is a woman from the body shape, it's not that you can't make out her face. There is no face there. There are no facial features. As you get another 20 feet, you start noticing that the itching on your arm has changed from just a mild irritation to kind of a burning sensation and almost searing pain as you get with as you move another 10 feet to now to the point where you're 40 feet away from the grove. The pain in your arm is starting to become very, very noticeable. And despite the fact that you're ignoring it, you're starting to notice a glow emanating from your arm that's starting to kind of light where you are, because you've left the beacon of light that you were standing in, 60 feet behind you. And so now you are glowing from this symbol on your arm.
I continue walking, but I no longer will take glances up.
Okay.
And I will continue fight through every pain.
So you get another 10 feet. The pain is now starting to become unbearable. It's starting to feel like searing hot knives have been cutting into your skin, or that you're being branded over and over and over again. You start to hear, because again, as long as you've been in this area, the only thing that you've heard at first was silence, and then you started hearing the trickling of water when that grove appeared. Now you start hearing something slightly different. It's this sizzling, popping sound. And as it gets louder and louder, you start to recognize the sound from having cooked your own meals and things like that, is the sound of flesh searing. And the pain in your arm starts to become unbearable. It gets to the point where your hand locks on that arm, locks completely into a fist because you're fighting the pain so much. You start hearing another dripping sound that sounds very different from the trickle of water you heard before. And since you're looking down, you notice that blood is now starting to drip from the inside of your hand. You've clenched your fist so tight you've actually cut into the meat of your palm trying to fight this. You move another 10 feet forward and you start getting these flashes of pain right behind your eyes. The first time it happens, it knocks you to your knees. But again, determined, you stand up and keep walking forward. You take another, you walk another 10 feet. You're now 10 feet away from the grove. And as you're sitting there trying to fight through the pain, out of nowhere, this massive wall shoots up from underneath you, where you actually have to kick your head backwards to keep it from ramming into your face as you look down. You fall backwards, and as you stand up, you see this wall so high that you can't see the top of it, made of wrought iron and stone. The wall itself has these spiked protrusions every so often that are, from what you can tell, are incredibly sharp. You haven't tested them or anything. And as you sit there, completely cut off from the grove now, you can see the wall itself is not completely solid. There are kind of like, if you're familiar with the term murder holes, kind of arrow slits that you might see on, the bailey of a keep. And so you kind of look through them, you can see that the woman is still standing there. The grove itself is, like I said, 10 feet away. She's in the middle of it. She's about 15 feet away from you. And despite the fact that she doesn't have a face, she's looking right at you. But try as you might, the holes are too small to fit anything through. The wall itself looks to be 1.5 feet, 2 feet thick. And try as you might, there's nothing you can do to get through this wall. What would you like to do?
And it's just me in like basically not necessarily night clothes, just like not armored, just yeah. What am I wearing?
You're wearing actually make me a perception check.
Perception. 13.
So as you sit there, looking at the little trail of blood that you've left behind from your hand, the searing, you kind of look at your arm and notice a deep, deep burn on it. The mark now looks like it's been branded into your arm a couple of inches. You look at yourself, and you are wearing something that you haven't seen in a very, very long time. When you first took your vows to become a cleric, they gave you these robes of Eldath that had her holy symbol on them, and they were very, very uncomfortable. You were very, very happy when you got to the point where you were allowed to leave and wear whatever clothing that you liked, because you just despised wearing these scratchy, horrible things. And you are wearing your initiate clothing. And you can see the tabard that you're wearing, which is... you were very young when it was there, and the tabard itself always felt unnaturally heavy to you because it was made of a very thick fabric, and the holy symbol itself was stitched in very fine stuff, and so it always just felt almost overpowering. It felt so much heavier than your regular clothing, and you're feeling, despite the fact that you're much older and stronger, you're feeling that same feeling now, that you are just weighted down by this tabard with the symbol of Eldath on it.
Can I? Okay, you're saying that the wall is made of iron bars, essentially.
It's a stone wall that's reinforced with wrought iron and like black iron plating and things like that.
Are there any spots where there are none of those spikes jettisoning out? Or is it just every square inch?
The spikes themselves are separated. You see, they're generally spaced about like 1.5 feet apart. Mm-hmm. And they're about 4 to 6 inches long. Are you familiar with bodkin arrowhead?
No.
It's basically got 4 edges, and then
okay.
point, if that makes sense to you. It looks like 2 bodkin arrows,
Okay.
And they all look razor sharp. So nothing that you could really hold on to without cutting yourself. And like I said, they're spaced about every foot and a half. Even the spacing is off depending on, like, the wall itself doesn't look, I guess, well made. Like, there are parts of it that have these patches of black iron, and the wrought iron is in there to reinforce it. And you can see there are parts of it are carved stone, and there are other parts of it that's just mortared rocks stuck together, and like the wall itself is just an eyesore. The arrow slits type things are roughly carved. They serve their purpose, but they're, obviously nothing that would ever be used in like a keep or anything like that. They're just, everything is so rough and misshapen.
Okay. I will take off the robes, or the training robes,
Mm-hmm.
And put the holy symbol in my right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Since it is, I guess, I'm assuming that it's been weakened because of the mark. And this is a long shot. I want to wrap my left hand in the robes and look for a spot that's genuinely not covered by the spikes,
Mm-hmm.
and I will pray as hard as I can, and just not even thinking, just hit the wall and see if that does anything.
Make me a strength check or an athletics check.
Natural 20.
Damn. So you sit there and you wrap your hand. Now is the left one? I can't remember. Is the mark on your right or your left hand?
My right.
Right. Okay. So
As
your
far as
right
I
hand,
remember.
your right hand is cut and bleeding. Your left hand has been holding your holy symbol, and so you put it into your right hand, and the blood starts to get all over your holy symbol, and you use your tabard, this heavy, almost weighted cloth, and start wrapping your hand. And as you do that, with each time that you wrap it and you start wrapping your arm with it to try and protect it as much as you can, you feel more determined that this is going to happen. You sit there and you raise your fist and you slam it into the wall, and you feel this sharp pain in your hand as you hear bones crunching against each other. And you feel this kind of sharp pain in your right arm as the mark flares as you strike the wall. And you're at first overwhelmed with this sensation. You've never been in this much pain in your life. You shake it off, bring your fist up again, and slam it again into the wall. Again, flash of pain, your hand hurts. You start noticing that the front of the cloth that you've wrapped your hand is starting to take on a reddish tint, as if something was starting to leak through from the other side of the cloth. You sit there and slam it into again and again and again, ignoring the pain. And without really realizing it, you've been punching into one of those arrow slits. And you just kept hitting it over and over again. You saw pieces of the wall falling away. But you're still only able to make small amounts of any sort of change in it whatsoever. It's still far too small for your hand, especially wrapped. I mean, you're kind of a bigger guy, and you have big strong hands, and now it's wrapped. And as you look at the tabard is now dripping with blood, and it's ripped and torn. The symbol of Eldath just looking horrible, and you're completely exhausted from the exertion, and you start feeling faint, and you start beginning to fall down to your knees, and you kind of reach your hand out as the tabard kind of falls away because you can't really grip it anymore. Falls away, and you can see your hand is mangled and cut and bruised, and you lean against the wall, and as your hand is about to make contact with the wall, it doesn't feel quite right. It feels warm and very, very soft. And as you look up, you can see an arm extending through the hole you've just whited. The purest white skin you've ever seen in your life, reaching through this hole, kind of grabbing your hand, and kind of helping you to steady yourself.
Has the wall changed since she's been near?
The wall's still there. You actually can't even see through the hole anymore because it's just barely wide enough for this arm to fit through. So right now, all you basically see is this pure white skinned hand coming out and basically holding your hand that's beaten and bruised and bloodied.
I grip as hard as I can with my broken. I'm assuming it's my broken hand.
You get that feeling.
Yeah. And I mean, because I'm in so much pain, I just try and get as much as I can and ask, "What can I do? I'm lost."
As you say that, you start hearing voices from around you, and it's really hard to tell what they're saying, but they sound incredibly sinister. And as you sit there focusing more and more, you start to recognize the voice of the man that gave you that mark. And he just keeps repeating the same phrase that you heard him repeat back when you guys were there. You keep hearing this phrase, "I own you," over and over and over again. And it starts to get louder and louder, and you hold harder and faster to this hand, and you feel the grip from the hand itself get firmer, and you start to feel like the person on the other side is technically holding you up by your hand, is physically keeping you from falling down right now, because your entire body wants to just go limp, and the person on the other side is strong enough that they've actually grabbed you almost like a where you grab wrist to wrist type thing, and they're actually holding you up by your arm, and the grip itself gets firmer, not painful or anything like that, but very, very strong. And as suddenly as you appeared there, you are instantly back in the manor house. And you look around you again. You're in the guest room. You're in your armor that you were in before, whatever you were wearing before. The robes from when you were an initiate are nowhere to be found. You have your holy symbol still gripped in your right hand now, and you do notice a small pool of blood underneath your right hand, and that your right palm is cut. With again, being a cleric, you've seen people in extreme pain before. You've seen people that have had convulsions bad enough that their nails have dug into their hand, and that's exactly what's happened here. But beyond that, nothing has changed.
Is the symbol still disfigured?
The symbol has gone back to the way it was before you had this experience. You do notice that there is, where it was held, there is a slight tinge of red where it was held in your right hand. And as you look at it more, you realize that the red coloring is not like a stain from the blood. The red coloring itself is actually a natural coloration of the wood that just looks remarkably similar to, like it's almost the identical color of the blood that has kind of gathered on the holy symbol. You have no idea if it was this color before, but something about it seems significant to you, that this holy symbol now has basically your blood kind of infused into it in color.
Okay. And the mark is still as there and as it was.
Yeah, it's no longer like sunk into your flesh anymore. It's not glowing or anything like that, but it's still there.
Okay. Um,
You do realize now as you kind of gather yourself, you try to stand up and you immediately fall over. You realize that you're completely covered in sweat, like you've just run a marathon or something like that, completely exhausted.
all right. I'll remove the armor and sit back down for a minute.
Okay. So while that was happening, we head back over to you
The
guys.
tavern.
You guys are in the tavern. We're going to call it the Slaughtered Ox. You guys are in the tavern. Anna is enjoying her lukewarm ale. I'm assuming you also decided to try some of the food.
Yeah.
The food looks kind of gross, but it tastes good and it's filling. So it's nothing fancy, but it definitely gets the job done. So you guys have been eating probably for about 10 or 15 minutes, and you see a familiar face walk in. That of Carlon Amethel, who is the gentleman you found buried in the ground. You notice he looks a lot better than the last time you saw him. His hair is pulled back into a ponytail. He's wearing a little bit nicer clothing. He has a cloak on, and is wearing more kind of muffled colors, some grays, dark greens, and things like that. And as he comes in, he's greeted like they know him there. He gets his drink and moves almost in a beeline towards you guys without ever making eye contact. Like he keeps talking to all these different people, and everyone seems to be really having a good time. And before you guys realize it, he sat down at your table without ever looking at you guys. So he turns and goes, "So, to what do I owe the honor?"
Well, we have the night, so
Well, is this business or pleasure?
business.
Why can't it be both?
And kind of looks at you. He's like, "I like your style." And you see him just kind of he lifts his hand and makes a motion towards the barkeep, and she reaches underneath the bar, which Anna, you haven't seen her do all night. Like every drink you've seen ordered, they have shelves and shelves and shelves of all these different alcohols, and they've got kegs back there that are tapped. You've never seen her reach below the bar. She reaches below the bar, brings up this very dark glass bottle, brings it over with a few actual glasses compared to the kind of wood flagons that you guys have been drinking out. And doesn't stop or anything. She just puts it down, walks back to behind the bar. Carlin immediately uncorks it and pours this kind of thick liquid from it into the glasses, hands one to each of you guys,
I politely refuse.
and he raises his glass up. To the Mistress of Magic.
To the Mistress of Magic.
I cheer as well.
I do too.
As the liquid hits your mouth, it's you're expecting kind of this very thick, syrupy liquid, and as it hits your tongue, you notice it's significantly lighter, almost as if it's evaporating as it hits your tongue. And as it goes down your throat, like your entire body starts to feel warm. Very, very common feeling from very good alcohol. Yeah, this is the good stuff. So he goes, so I'm certain there will be more pleasure later in the night, but as far as the business aspects, I do owe you a debt. What is it that I can do for you?
Well, we were continuing our venture tomorrow. You probably understand what we're doing, and so we were hoping for
I've
any.
been able to I've been able to contact the rest of those who harbor. I know a lot more about what you're doing. I may know more about what you're doing than you know at this point. Suffice it to say, there are a lot of people that are interested to find out exactly what it is that you are going to discover.
We were just hoping for any information that could be of aid for what we're
Well,
doing.
I can tell you that Greenest is not unique, nor is that part of the Sword Coast. All up and down the Sword Coast, as high as the outskirts of Luskin, all the way down to the trade city of there have been reports of raiders working with fiendish creatures with draconic features, taking every bit of valuables they can, leaving cities and villages in ruins. None of the larger cities have been hit, like Baldur's Gate, El Turel, Waterdeep, Daggerford. Those have all been left alone. But the smaller towns, there have been some that have been wiped off the map. There are others that have just been completely ransacked, some that were barely touched. But the thing that all of these incidents have in common is every single bit of shining has been taken. They leave nothing of value behind. If you happen to have a silvered blade, they take it.
Did you guys have anything you wanted to ask?
Just if you have any advice for us as we depart tomorrow.
Yeah, don't let them figure out who you are or what you're doing. The Cult of the Dragon's been around for centuries, and they've always been obsessed with creating Dracoliches. They somehow think that a Dracolich is going to help return the world to its rightful order. And generally that involves killing off everything else. They've never cared about money other than getting enough money to perform their ritual. Because this stuff is not cheap, and finding, dragon bones and stuff like that is not easy. But they've never cared about money, and they've never worked with real dragons. And these half-dragons, I mean, I've met Dragonborn in my time. They're great people. They can drink almost as well as dwarves. But these half-dragons are a different beast entirely. They're not natural. And everything about this is weird. The fact that not only are you guys dealing with those who harp, but the Knights of the
Gauntlet?
Yeah, Silver Gauntlet have taken an interest in this. The Emerald Enclave has taken an interest in this. the Lord's Alliance has started pressing information from anyone they can to figure out what exactly is happening, because these guys are moving massive amounts of money along the tradeway, along the high road. Even the Zentarum have started poking around and trying to figure out what's going on. And when the Zents are involved, something's up.
I know that all too well.
Well, I've had my dealing with Zents. I've never met one that I wouldn't prefer to stick a dagger in between a few ribs. But they're as confused as the rest of us are about this. And that worries me. Black Network knows things that nobody should. They infiltrate. They are master deceivers. They are master intelligence gatherers. They're almost as good as we are. And they know nothing. And have been unusually cooperative in working with our agents in certain cities to figure out what the hell is going on. That's not normal.
No, no.
And the Lord's Alliance care about lining their pockets. That's all they've ever cared about. Yeah, they talk about, stability in the sector and all that stuff. But the whole point behind it is they want money. And they're being remarkably cooperative. Like, I've never seen this many people work together in the history of, well, at least as long as I've been alive. Whatever's going on, nobody knows what's happening except for these cultists. And whatever it is, it's costing them a king's ransom.
I would almost argue that the cultists themselves don't even know what's going on. They're just following orders at this point.
Well, see, there's been a lot of people. We've caught cultists. We haven't gotten a bit of information out of them. The lower ones, quite literally, they've expanded their recruitment so much that they're literally taking anyone to... The Cult of the Dragon are quite literally crazy. They're fanatics. Well, it's... To be a member of the cult takes dedication, takes years of service, takes so much sacrifice, and yet now, like, literally anyone that walks in off the street that's looking to make a buck, they're going, hey, welcome to the family. And because of that, those are the ones we generally tend to catch because they're not smart enough to get away, and the cult could care less about them, and they know nothing. They're paid to do a job. Some of them don't even realize that they're working for the Cult of the Dragon. They're just paid. The few higher-ups that we've been able to speak to, again, are fanatics. We've had mages using magic to probe minds and things like that and have found nothing. We get hit by this wall of fear and then nothing. Whatever information we're going to get is going to have to come not from interrogation, not from infiltration or anything like that. It's going to have to come from eyewitness accounts. And that's why everyone is kind of hoping that you guys know what you're doing.
I kind of briefly described to him the blonde woman that we saw with the half dragon when we went into the camp. I'm like, has she been spotted anywhere?
Really, a blonde wearing purple robes? Yeah, I can find you about a dozen of them over at Blackstaff Tower. To be honest, those who wear the purple robes generally tend to wear ceremonial masks, so even if I had spotted her somewhere else, I wouldn't be able to tell you that's who it was. Their faces are obscured all the time. The fact that you saw her without her mask is impressive. You guys are probably the most knowledgeable people currently about what's going on with the Cult of the Dragon?
Oh, Matt.
That makes me
Yeah.
feel proud and terribly frightened at the same time.
Yeah. Like I said, this isn't normal. I've never seen this many people working together. Something really big is happening, and the fact that they're letting anybody and everybody into their little group that used to be members only terrifies me. It means that they're looking for cannon fodder. And everything has to do with this money. Because you guys may have noticed that when you got to Baldur's Gate, there was a shit ton more that these guys were carrying than they got from Greenest.
Yeah.
You guys followed all the money that has been taken probably in the last 2 months from the southern Sword Coast. All of it went to Baldur's Gate to move up to Waterdeep. And when we have a few people that have been keeping an eye on them since they've been in Waterdeep, we've got a good idea that they're probably going to leave mid-morning tomorrow. And they're leaving with more gold than they came. There were shipments that came from Daggerford. There were some shipments that came all the way from Everesca and that general area. All of them come into Waterdeep, moving north on the high road. However, none of it's getting to Neverwinter. Or at least none of it has gotten to Neverwinter yet. We don't know where it's going, but everything from Luskin and Neverwinter, all the money that we've seen funneled from there goes south on the high road towards Waterdeep. And yet we haven't seen that here.
I'm going to like just under the table unravel that copy of the map that I made that we found in that big tent, and I'm just going to see if I can see any connection between what he's saying.
So the map itself is kind of mostly just the southern Sword Coast. It shows Greenest, it shows El Turel, Baldur's Gate, and at the very top of the map is Waterdeep. And you can see a few notes that you managed to copy as well. What languages do you speak?
Common, Orcish, Halfling.
Because you are a map maker, you were able to copy these markings that you don't recognize pretty closely. You're not sure how accurate they are because it's in a language that you don't understand.
I'm going to tug on Valdis's sleeve because I know he knows like 10 languages and see if he can read it.
Valdis knows everything.
All right. I speak Common, Draconic, Dwarvish, Elvish, Halfling, Gnomish, Goblin.
The language itself is close enough to Draconic that you can read it. But it's kind of like reading Old English. Like, it just seems there are
Do I
words
get
that are.
do I get like the ancient Draconic vibe?
Kind of. You know, it's obviously you're not sure if it's a root language of Draconic or it's a language that was spun off from Draconic or something, but they're close enough that you can read it. And the notes are relatively mundane things. Some of them are just numbers, calculations. Other ones are actual like warnings of avoid this area, similar things like that. There are no dates that you can see on it. And again, there's arrows pointing, up the tradeway to Waterdeep. But again, the map itself ends right at Waterdeep. As you guys are kind of looking it over, Carlin, I'm having the hardest time with names right now. Carlin kind of looks over and he's like, "Where did you get this?"
I'm kind of a map maker, and we found a map in one of the camps, and I copied it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And he immediately kind of pushes you out of the way. Not in like a rude way, but just like an excited way, and he starts looking over it. And you, Valdis, you hear him speaking very softly the Draconic words, and he's pronouncing them in a very different accent than you're used to hearing Draconic pronounced in. Because of your kind of book knowledge of everything, I'm assuming you, while you're fluent in Draconic, you probably speak it with a very heavy human accent.
Yeah.
And because there aren't a ton of people that speak Draconic in Waterdeep, despite the fact that it's, a pretty well-known language, most people stick to Common. You've heard kind of a more traditional, like, Dragonborn Draconic accent, and the accent that he's using right now to read this doesn't sound like anything you've heard before. He sits there, is like, well, I mean, it's something, but to be perfectly honest, this really isn't that much new information. I mean, we know they've been ransacking villages and taking the loot up here. That's why we had you follow them from Baldur's Gate. We weren't 100% sure that the loot was getting all the way to Waterdeep. But now that you guys are here, and to be honest, you guys are the first people that have been able to track specific looting from a town all the way to Waterdeep. These guys are masters at covering their tracks and going through enough large cities that tracking any one piece of merchandise has been almost impossible. So we at least know that Waterdeep is on part of their plan, for sure. Wherever it goes from here, though, we got nothing. They're, let's call it hesitant to take on unknown workers. Traveled north of Waterdeep to Neverwinter since the Spell Plague, and especially since everything that's been happening recently. People don't generally go to Neverwinter that often. Trade routes have just barely been reopened. So large caravans like the one from Baldur's Gate don't happen. You guys have got your work cut out for you if you're going to convince them to let you come up, tag along.
I know you're from around that neck of the woods, right?
As a matter of fact, I am.
Do you know what we can expect to run across?
I didn't see much on my way south.
You used to live in Neverwinter Wood, or?
I actually, north of that, Icewind Dale.
Oh, okay, yeah. You wouldn't quite be as knowledgeable about Neverwinter, just because Icewind Dale is so far north.
What was I gonna say? I know. My background is the Outlander.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the Wanderer. So I might be able to recognize some of the geography on the way back.
But
yeah,
so the high road that goes, it's the main tradeway between Waterdeep and Neverwinter. You know that before the before the Spell Plague, it used to loop around the Mare of Dead Men, which is this giant swamp that's just south of Neverwinter, and it's called the Mare of Dead Men because undead things are there. and people generally tend to avoid it like the plague. When the spell plague happened, Mount Hotenau, which is just north of Neverwinter, and is actually what keeps Neverwinter, the reason it's called the Jewel of the North, is because while everything else gets cold during the winter and covered in snow, Mount Hotenau, there are underground magma flows that actually heat the water around Neverwinter and the river that runs through it. And so Neverwinter really is this kind of oasis in the much colder northern areas. Well, Mount Hotenau erupted during the spell plague and destroyed a large part of Neverwinter. And the spell plague itself caused a lot of damage to the city. And so the high road itself wasn't used for decades and got overgrown and things like that. And now it actually travels through the Mare of Dead Men instead of going around it. And that's one of the big reasons why people don't travel on it as much.
Sounds like fun.
My way south was somewhat, you could say I took the back roads, I believe.
It's probably significantly safer.
Plus, I had a guide. But we could use me returning home as an excuse to try to get with a caravan.
Well, I guess it's as good as an excuse as any. Have you had actual interaction with the cult? Like, do they know your faces?
Some of us.
I
Yeah,
I motioned to Lillian specifically.
Well, you may want to hide your features. You have, and he kind of looks over at Valdis. You've got one who's skilled in magic. You may want to use some of your skill to make him or make her slightly less noticeable.
Yeah, I mean, I've died by here, sit down, so in my here, sit down. Hoping
certainly
that will help a little bit.
I would recommend investing in a cloak with a very sturdy hood.
Yeah, because my skills stop at altering myself.
You know, what you do on your own time is entirely your own, all right? You guys hear kind of a shout from across the bar as you see three very burly-looking guys raising glasses and clinking them hard enough that if they were made out of anything other than wood and metal, they probably would have broke. Most of the ale in there ends up on the table and that, and they order another round. And he goes, well, that's my cue to leave. It's been lovely talking to you all, but there are certain people in this town that, let's just say, they're less than fond of me. I'll be in town and I'll keep an eye on you until you guys leave, but be careful and understand that there are a lot of people counting on your information, so as morbid as this may sound, one of you returning with information is significantly more valuable than all of you returning with nothing.
Understood.
If you get my drift.
We do.
All right. Have fun, guys. Thanks for helping me out. Hopefully, this will not be the last time I see you. And
Hopefully
you see
not.
him
Hopefully.
as adeptly as he did before. He gets up and he works his way around the room, talking to people, like never once making it look like he's actually heading out the door, just starting up conversations and you know, suggesting toasts and stuff like that. And then he just slips out the door almost as quickly as he came in. About 2 or 3 minutes passed, and you see two very menacing-looking people kind of come in, look around a little bit, and then walk out.
I have a question.
I have an answer. Let's see if they match.
Well, this is in character. Did he ever pay for that expensive liquor? Or are we just screwed?
In this particular bar, you pay when you get your drinks.
Okay.
So we're not left with the
You
tab.
did
Like, I
not
have
see him
6
pay
gold
for
to my name.
anything that he ate or drank while he was here. He paid for absolutely nothing, but he still got all of it.
Did he leave the bottle, or did that disappear as well?
Make a perception check.
25.
You have no idea where the bottle is.
Oh,
Did somebody not drink theirs?
Valdez.
I didn't.
I as stealthily as I can, reach over and take Valdez's cup.
Even if I saw you, I wouldn't care.
You are very impressed though with the fact, like, you quite literally, you have absolutely no idea where the bottle went. You actually go back in the conversation you had with him all the way from when he poured it and set it down, and you can't remember if it was there at any point in the conversation. It's such a weird feeling.
I am just in awe of these Harpers, guys. Their skills. I mean, these guys are like everything I want to be, and I'm not. They're like the anti-Anna. But hey, I bet they can't turn into a bear.
How much would our dinners and drinks cost? I'll cover it.
In general, for like ale and a hot meal, you in a place like this, if it was the cheap stuff, it would have been 5 copper. If it was, a little bit better fare, you probably would have paid a silver apiece.
I'll pay us all.
This is not a fancy place. You have no idea how much that bottle. Like, you guys have, especially you, Altier, the trading company, because of how often bribery is just kind of an accepted business practice in Mulmaster. Your family has gotten some very, very expensive gifts, completely tax-deductible gifts. And you know that alcohol like that is not cheap. You're talking hundreds of gold a bottle.
Before we go back to my place,
And I tipped the waitress another silver.
She seems
I
pleased.
make sure that the waitress isn't in earshot of us, but before we go back, if for some reason any of my family's there, we are just escorting Anna home. I don't know who's involved with what, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Alright.
Alright.
So back to your place, Valdez?
Yeah, unless you guys need to stop anywhere else.
Nope.
No.
Do we really want to go back to your home?
As
Pay for a hotel if you want.
part of this experience has taught me that if I don't pick a lock, I'll be okay.
Okay. I'm just gonna try to blend into the background then.
If you feel that bad, we've stepped in the hallway, and I think it's safe, and you could set up your bedroll in the hall.
It's not that I'm afraid of the house at this point.
Ollie's there, we have to go back to get him anyway.
Okay.
I could have Percival watch you all night.
Oh,
Oh no.
Something tells me that wouldn't be the first time.
Okay, let's
Let's just go.
Right. As you guys get up to the lock, get out. Altier, Anna, Liliane, I need Constitution saving throws from all three of you. Anna, you make yours with disadvantage.
Oh boy. Is this against poison? Because I'll have advantage.
It is not against poison.
Okay.
Oh, I somehow think I know what's involved since I'm not rolling one.
Wait. Yeah, I know what it is. Dice God Percival did not come through.
No, see, what you're supposed to do is say, "Don't you fuck me, Gil."
7.
Okay? Lillian, what'd you get?
12.
12, okay. Anna?
15.
All right. Even with disadvantage?
Even I rolled a 12 and a 17.
Wow, not bad at all. Lillian, as you stand up, your head swims a little bit. You instantly realize that the alcohol was a little bit more potent than you originally thought it was. It's not bad. You're just slightly unsteady on your feet. Anna, when you get up, you still feel you're kind of getting that silliness. Like you're kind of in a good mood. There's certain things that seem a lot funnier than they should be. But other than that, like your head's not really swimming, you're not really having that hard a time concentrating or anything like that. You're just in an overall good mood.
I've just got the giggles.
Altier, as you stand up, you sit back down immediately. Your vision is swimming. You're drunk.
Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna sit in the chair, I'm gonna spend a key point, Fist of Life, slap myself.
Make an attack roll with disadvantage.
Oh, okay. What's my proficiency plus dex, which is 8, so 11?
Does that beat your armor class?
No. I do my bonus action attack. 12 still doesn't beat my armor class.
So you guys see Altier just kind of sit down and go, and just start slapping himself. And you watch as he slaps himself, and then you watch his hand glow and then stop glowing. And then he kind of looks at it, and then the other hand glows and then stops glowing, and then he slaps himself. He's like, this doesn't make sense.
And I just start double over laughing.
I grab onto Anna's sleeve and I just use it to steady myself as I get up. Let's go back.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't drink that now.
You're completely fine.
I feel like I'm the designated driver of D&D.
Probably.
Technically, Lillian and Anna are not particularly dangerous. Like, you wouldn't want Lillian, behind the reins of a cart. But Anna seems to be, holding herself well enough that she doesn't seem too bad. She's just really happy.
I make a batch of good berries, offer them to Altier, and then help guide him.
I just start absent-mindedly snacking on them like bar snacks.
They're remarkably good. Like, you've never had good berries this good. You're like, this is the greatest. And then you start to realize that Anna had to burn a spell slot for that. Like, Anna had to use some of her energy, and she did it entirely just to help you feel better. You start realizing what a good friend Anna is, and how she's always had your back, and how she's just, overall, is just a wonderful person.
Anna, you're amazing. When you turn into a bear and you give me that opportunity to strike people better, and then you heal me after the fight, that's...
Oh, I just gotta
So-
shrug it off.
There are several rooms at my place if you guys want one.
You mean 2?
Sure, let's just walk in that direction.
in like slurred halfling, I'm like, oh,
Oh, I keep forgetting you're a halfling.
yeah. This is strictly
Theoretically, Anna could probably carry you
probably.
like a,
I weigh
like a
like,
really big kid.
I weigh
I
like
pick him up.
35 pounds.
I pick him up and give him a I put him on my shoulders and give him a piggyback ride.
Altier, make a dexterity saving throw for me
Oh,
Okay.
with disadvantage.
Well, this could be terrible. Oh, please be a 1 so I can re-roll it. No, it's the same roll. 13.
As you guys are leaving the bar, Anna, you duck, but not quite low enough. And Altier, you smack your head on the top of the door as you go out. Not enough to do any real damage, but enough to kind of.
I'm okay.
Okay. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah, I don't.
At least Anna didn't drop you.
like that is.
Yeah.
That's
you
true.
Guys, you guys are able to make it back to Valdis's manor without too much difficulty. Percival is there, along with Minion 2 and 1. As you guys walk in, Percival makes his best effort to look imposing and guarding and go, I have been guarding this house unendingly, protecting the thousands of families that live inside. You see Garrick, it's like, my feet hurt like a... I've never walked this much in a single day in my entire life. Why do I have to keep walking? There's nothing happening. You guys walk in.
Elite minion 1 and then minions 2 and 1.
As you get in, Ollie, probably about 20 minutes has passed since your ordeal by the time you hear the downstairs doors closing. What, in that 20 minutes, what have you done?
Just sat there, just
And there's a bed in the room. You're currently in. They have a stool in there that you're sitting on right now.
I've just been going over and over, like, not necessarily to the point of like crazed fixation, but just
Trying
just rethinking.
to interpret the dream itself.
Yes.
Go ahead and roll me another religion check.
18.
So you are not a dream interpreter, and you do know that the gods have used dreams and things like that to communicate. They generally don't tend to use them to communicate with like your everyday ordinary citizens. Generally, it's big information, and is generally given to seers and things like that. There's been a few wizards that have tapped into magic close enough that they've had magical dreams. So you are not a dream interpreter. You know that they do exist. But just from experiencing it yourself, you kind of get the idea that this symbol is basically creating a barrier between you and your deity, and that she hasn't abandoned you, but that you're going to have to deal with that barrier before you can have direct communication with your deity.
Okay.
It's kind of what you're thinking. Again, this isn't your forte, and
Mm-hmm.
you've never heard of anyone that has had like a prophetic dream have something like this. Like, this has been weird.
All right.
Ollie, you still here?
as stealthily as I can, just like slide into the covers and pull them over my head, trying not to deal with drunk people.
You guys come in. Valdis, again, you have your own room. The rest of you guys, there are 2 guest rooms and servants' quarters. And due to the fact that the family travels with their servants, these servants' quarters are empty right now. Other than, obviously, the guards. They have kind of a separate building type place where when they're not on duty they can rest there, but they have their own homes in Waterdeep. So.
I'm drunkenly looking around while still piggybacking Anna.
I take him up to the room Ollie's in and just kind of, like take him down, set him on the bed. There you go.
I look over at Ollie, who's under the covers. Bacon.
All right then. I'm just going to the other room and I just kind of like back out. I'll see you in the morning.
Anything else you guys want to do before you go to bed?
No, I'm good.
Nope.
No, I mean, I was read through my
The Book of Kellamvor.
Yeah.
Oh, I should probably write a second note explaining why the sigil went off, so that there's not just randomly in the middle of the night I wake up to dead friends.
I wasn't involved.
You write another note. This one you actually pin to the door itself.
And I write it in my cipher, just so if the guards are nosy, they don't know.
Sure.
And
Doesn't
then-
take too much. Your parents know you well enough, because I'm assuming this is some sort of family cipher
Yeah.
you guys use to communicate. Yeah. No difficulty there. The letter itself that you pin there seems remarkably wordy and almost poetic, and it talks about blue fields and, wind coming across the plains and stuff like that. And this is really kind of artsy thing that you've just nailed to the door.
And then after that, I'll just head up to my room.
All right, so you guys are able to get the effects of a long rest. Valdis, or not Valdis, I'm sorry, Ollie, when you awaken, due to the ordeal that you've gone through, even after waking up, you have 1 level of exhaustion.
Okay.
The rest of you guys are fine. Altier, you've got a massive headache when you wake up and you're super hungover. And then Lilian are fine. Ollie, if you would like to, I guess, thank Altier for all of the, just probably really enjoyable conversation you had all last night while he was drunk. You can just speak really loudly.
Is he awake yet? Has he gotten up yet?
I'll say that you probably woke up before he did, because you probably didn't sleep remarkably well last night.
I grab my chest plate and my mace, and I sneak over to his bedside.
As you walk over, you see Altier sitting there, kind of clutching a pillow, his mouth open. The pillow is drenched in drool.
Essentially, the equivalent of a mother grabbing the spatula and frying pan, banging in the morning. I do that and start screaming, "Good morning!"
Anna and Lillian, you guys hear, even through the wall, you hear this kind of pounding sound, very metallic. You find it a little bit weird, but it does wake you up. Altier, you are super awake right now.
I just
You've
yell,
never
"Oh God!"
been this awake before.
I just yell, "Oh God, it's the cloaks!" and I tuck and roll under the bed.
He basically makes himself a blanket burrito and hides under the bed.
Hearing, would I hear the him talk about the cloaks, or whatever?
Yeah, he said that very, very loud.
All right, I would jump on the bed and start jumping up and down, just to drive it even farther home.
I just clutch my head.
Altier, you're under attack. Something trying to attack you. You can hear impacts above you. You're not sure if the cloaks have started lobbing magical spells at you or what.
I just kind of like put my hands underneath my shoulders and I'm gonna reverse drop kick the bed essentially.
So just so I understand this, in relation to how your first visit to Waterdeep has been, you came in, broke into a rich person's house, set off their magical sigil, are sleeping on their guest bed, and are now about to break the frame.
And then I second guess it. I keep hearing it, so I'm going to try and stealthily make my way to the door.
Roll a stealth check with disadvantage.
Well, 13.
Valdis, what is your passive perception?
Me or
Or not Valdis, Ollie, I'm sorry.
I actually don't have that written down. What would that be?
It's 10 plus your perception modifier. So yeah.
14.
You watch him kind of like caterpillar his way, still wrapped up in the blankets, out of the room. He reaches up, opens the door, caterpillars out.
I just walk out behind him. Just follow him.
At this point, and then Lillian, you guys have probably gotten dressed and come out.
Yeah.
Valdis seems to be the most well-rested of anyone. Anything else you guys want to do before you head out?
make them coffee?
I just kind of pinch my nose as well, just puts the coffee down in front of me, and I'm like, how many questions about Elbeth did I ask you last night?
When Altier's not paying attention, I want to alter the flavor of his coffee
Oh no.
so that it tastes exactly like someone pissed.
Wow.
Make a sleight of hand check for me.
Yes. Perfect use of this.
Oh no.
20, not natural.
Altier, what's your passive perception?
18.
Wow, you have a really high passive perception. You sit there and you take a drink of the coffee, and it is the most glorious thing you've ever tasted in your life, and you're like, it's helping with the headache and everything. You set it down, and you're talking with Ollie, trying to apologize for what it was. You absent-mindedly pick up your cup again, take a swig, and immediately spit it all over Ollie.
Oh, really? Come on.
And you try and figure out, like, maybe you picked up the wrong cup or something like that. You smell it. You smell the strong odor of ammonia from it. You have no idea what happened beyond the fact that somehow maybe the milk is turned, like the cream turned or something. You're not sure, but this is undrinkable.
Something wrong with the coffee? I can make another glass.
Mine's fine.
Yeah. And as he makes it again this time, I'm just like watching everything. Not him exactly, but just like what happened.
Watching the world.
I'll set the new glass down, and then I'll take the old one he had, and before I take a drink, I'll drop what I was casting, and then just take a drink. Tastes fine to me.
Because theoretically, the prestidigitation just ends whenever you want it to stop. It doesn't require magic to end it. So you can just, kind of like a concentration spell, you just stop concentrating on it. Or you just decide to end the effect. So, the initial casting requires somatic components, but ending it is just thought.
Oh boy.
Times like these, I wish I was a sorcerer. Perfect use of sorcerer points.
Oh no.
You guys feeling up to go to a caravan?
Yes, we should, before it gets too late, we should definitely get moving.
Yeah,
You guys did get your start, like when Ollie woke up Altier, it was pre-dawn. So by the time you guys get going, you are literally leaving right after dawn. So it's very early in the morning. You can see the streets are already. There are already a lot of people on the streets, more than you would have kind of expected. And that's just because the nature of Waterdeep, like all the people that have shops and stuff like that would have gotten to their shop before dawn and would be ready to open up shortly after first light for their early morning customers, especially like the bakers and stuff like that have probably been there since like 4 in the morning, heating up the ovens, baking, first batches of stuff. Making your way to the northern gate is not incredibly difficult at all. It takes you about 10 minutes. And situated near the northern gate is basically the Caravan Guild, which is not quite as strict as Baldur's Gate, where Baldur's Gate, if you are going north and doing a caravan, like they're unionized there. You want to go north, you get one of our caravans. Otherwise, stay off the tradeway. It's ours.
Before we go too far, I want to pull Lillian aside and ask if she has a cloak, or if anyone has a cloak we can give her. All I have are the extra cultist robes, and that won't be a good idea.
Cloaks are very, very common.
Common clothes.
Part of common clothes would be a cloak for traveling during the rain. So most of you guys probably have at least a basic cloak.
Yeah.
That's semi-waterproof.
So yeah, pull the hood up and then we'll go.
Yeah.
If you were me, I could alter your appearance, but that way.
So Lillian kind of covers herself up a little bit.
Yeah.
which you notice you aren't even the only person in the general area that's wearing a cloak with the hood up. Again, the city as large as Waterdeep, there are going to be people that are there specifically because if you were looking for a single person in one of the largest cities on the Sword Coast, you're going to have a very hard time, especially if they don't want to be found. So, it's not an uncommon sight to see people walking with cloaks up even in bright sun.
So now we just need to find out how much it's going to be to travel with them towards Neverwinter.
Yes.
So as
Here,
you guys,
I can do the talking.
as you guys get to the Caravanners Guild, you see a short halfling woman standing on a barrel, kind of barking orders at people, but in that kind of very sing-songy way that halflings just generally tend to speak in. Like their natural accent just kind of has this sing-songiness to it. And so she's barking orders at people, and you can hear her hurling insults and stuff like that at different people, and they hurl it back. And overall, it just seems like not really jovial, but a very comfortable environment. And as you guys step closer, she takes notice of you and she's like, all right, exactly what might you be needing now?
We were hoping to travel with you guys.
Well, it might be easier for me to find you a place to go if I knew where you might be going to.
Neverwinter, right?
Yeah.
That way?
Yeah, we want to head north towards Neverwinter.
Well,
Eventually,
do
we
you
want to
head
get
to Neverwinter, or you just want to head in Neverwinter's direction? Because I have many different caravans that are leaving today, and I don't want to put you on one that's going to make you go farther than you want, and they're going to kind of be expecting you to stay along for the entire ride, especially if you're going all the way to Neverwinter. Goes through the Mare Dead Men, and let's just say it's not the best sightseeing trip, and so people tend to expect that the people that they leave with are the ones that they're going to arrive with. So exactly where are you looking to go?
That's the direction we're heading through the Mire of Dead Men.
But are you going to Neverwinter, or do you want to stop before then?
We're
This
actually
is not
going.
very difficult. Where do you want to go?
We eventually want to make our way to Icewind Dale. So Neverwinter would be the next stop on our way.
Oh, well, I've got, you're lucky. I actually happen to have, they call themselves the Utgard. I have no idea what in the world they're doing this far south, but they decided to come south. Maybe, they said something about bear spirits or something like that. I've never quite been that in tune with the Utgard. But they came down here talking about bears and elk and all this other things, and they're heading north all the way to Bryn Shander. So I can get you signed up with their caravan, probably without too much difficulty. You have to ask them if they have any requirements. But the fee for the guild will be 1 gold piece a head.
It's reasonable, isn't it?
I kind of like. Give us a second. We need to discuss something. And I turn to the guys and I'm like, yeah, but is that the caravan we're supposed to be following?
I don't think so. I think the one we're supposed to be following stops in Neverwinter.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, both directions ended there.
Okay. So I turn back around. No, that would be
As
lovely.
you turn
But
around, you come face to face with her. Like she is uncomfortably close. She's like, listen.
oh,
My job here is to get people going where they want to go. And it seems to me that you folks aren't entirely looking for a place to go as much as you are a certain group to go with. Am I right?
I would like to do a insight check.
Go for it.
Oh, 23.
With you being an outlander and being unfamiliar with interacting with people, you get the idea that what she's saying has more meaning than just the words that she's uttering, but you've got no idea exactly what she's implying. You've never dealt with someone speaking like this before.
I'm going to step up to her, and in halfling, I'm going to say to her,
Altair, you don't need to make a check from doing
Yeah.
business in Mulemaster. You know basically the illegal doublespeak. You know, it's the idea of, hey, do you got the stuff? Of course I got the stuff. You got the money? Where technically they never say exactly what it is that they're doing, and they use a lot of vague generalizations that are very, very easy to deny anything.
in a mix of halfling and thieves' cant, I am going to speak to her, basically saying, like, can you help us?
So you guys watch as Altier starts going over there and starts talking about the economics of the region, talking about how in Neverwinter, because of Lord Neverember, you know, things have been getting there, but that's got to have been, you know, hurting the trade in Waterdeep. And there's very, like, he has insights into this system that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to the rest of you guys. And Valdis, you are very familiar with economics in general. It was one of the things that you studied against your will when you were a child. A lot of what he's saying doesn't make sense. And having a good knowledge of economics, you're sitting there going, no, that's not how it works. That's not how that works either. None of this makes a whole lot of sense, but he's using the right words. They just don't seem to be fitting in the right spots. She responds with talking about the tradeway and how the value of gold in general has been devaluating over and over and over again. And there's massive problems of inflation down in and Neverwinter itself, they've just barely gotten their gold reserves back. Through Thieves' Cant, she mentions to you, who are you looking for?
I'm going to vaguely describe the character, not mentioning the Cult of the Dragon and still in Thieves' Camp, but describe the people that we were following.
Specifically, who are you describing?
Basically, the people that were surrounding the caravan with the tarp over that we knew had the gold in it.
Okay. But you're not making mention of half-dragons or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Again, to the rest of you guys, they're having the most stream-of-conscious, random conversation you've ever heard in your life. They've gone from economics to politics to the newest fashion trends in Waterdeep and whether they're spreading. And they just keep hitting topic after topic after topic. She responds that you need to be more specific. There's been a couple different caravans that have either come through recently that kind of fit that description or will be leaving soon.
That's when, in a hushed tone, I give her an insight. I want to see if she's like, I know that this has been on my level so far, but I just want to get like a better beat on her before I drop this.
Go for it.
I lean over to Lillian and say, I must learn this language.
And I just like keep
Actually,
trying,
Valdis,
like,
make me a straight up intelligence check.
8.
You made it 8. Wait for Valdis. What'd you
16.
get? Okay. You do recognize that. Again, your study of language, you've just realized that they're having another conversation that you can't understand, which is fascinating to you. But up until this point, you've just been confused as to why they keep talking about this really boring bullshit when you're trying to get somewhere. So it's now just clicked that they're using a language that you've never heard of, nor have ever seen. And you have no idea. Like you're starting to basic of linguistics. You're starting to realize that there's a structure to the things that they're talking about, and it fascinates you because you've never heard of a language like this. She's a tough read, and reading someone that's speaking thieves' cant is even harder than reading someone who's just straight up talking, because everything she's saying right now is a lie.
Okay,
In
I'm
order
just
to
going.
mask it into the thieves' cant.
I'm going to cover my, acting like I'm brushing my face off, but cover my lips, and in halfling, in a hushed tone, I say, "Cult of the Dragon."
She responds by talking about some of the new elven brandy coming into town, and in Thieves' Cant replies with, sorry, I have to think of how she would phrase this. The basics of it is that'll cost you extra.
In Thieves' Cant, I'm going to say how much extra.
And she walks you over to a table with the equivalent of the gift shop. They've got little wooden coins with Waterdeep landmarks carved into them. She's got some small sculptures. Like she's got a small figurine of Blackstaff Tower, and she picks it up, hands it to you, and goes, "Now this is something that you'll be very interested in. I think it's exactly what you'll be looking for. That'll be, well, let's see, with the brilliant craftsmanship and everything, I'm thinking it'll probably be about 200 gold pieces."
Really? This is finely crafted.
And as you sit there looking at it, she goes, "I think it's exactly what it is that you're looking for. But see, this particular item is very hard to come by. And I'm actually not supposed to be selling it. I have someone that's actually coming to pick it up. And so in order to cover my losses with them, they might be very angry that I sold it to you. So I can't accept anything less than 200 gold pieces."
I nod understandingly, and I give her one of the gems that's worth 100 gold and 100 gold.
So she sits there and she looks at the gem, and make me a perception check.
10.
Okay. You sit there and she's looking at it, and suddenly the gem is not there. You have no idea where it went. You also notice that the gold is not there either. It just vanished. The rest of you guys were a little bit too far away to even notice most of the transaction taking place. It's like, all right then. Well, it's been lovely talking to you, and I'll just make sure that that caravan going to the Hunter's Lodge up north, I'll make sure that you're on it, because you're going to want to get back with those friends of yours that have been staying up there for so long, won't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for everything you've done.
Well, it's been absolutely lovely doing business with you, and I do hope that I see you again. And in
So do
Thieves'
I.
Cant, she says, if things go south, and she does see you again, you will die.
I tap on the table in Thieves' Cant and say, "I'll never see you again."
It's just more of the idea of this is dangerous, and if I have to choose between covering my ass and saving yours, I have no problem selling you out.
Oh no, that's basically
That's the basics of the thieves' cant is, hey, you're doing something stupid, and if you get caught, I am 100% going to make money off of your death.
It's a and with these cans I strum on the table. I'm just like, we never met, and I walk back to the group.
Okay.
I kind of walk over to the table and look at the coins, and is there a coin of the Blackstaff Tower?
Make a perception check.
21.
You do find a wooden coin that has the symbol of Blackstaff burnt onto it.
And
Probably using like a hot, knife or something like that.
I pick it up and ask her, how much for this?
And she looks at you. She looks back at Altier and kind of gives you this "Are you kidding me?" look. To Altier.
I kind of pat Anna on the side, on like the side of her arm, and I'm just like, let's go, man. Let's go, Anna. Anna. Remember, I'm the city one.
I put it back, and I'm just like, but I wanted a souvenir. All right, let's go.
Okay.
And due to the fact that it's getting late, that is where we are going to end it for tonight. So, yes, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, because I am going to get all of these uploaded, I swear to God, I have my other game finally caught up. I just haven't had time to upload these. They do get uploaded to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TrainerJody. Otherwise, I stream this basically every other Tuesday night. Next week I will be streaming my custom game right here, so feel free to follow me. It's twitch.tv/TrainerJody. You can follow me on Twitter, where I'm at TrainerJody. It's a thing. I like it. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.